Hey friends, my name's Aaron Ciotti. Everybody calls me Ciotti. Welcome to Whoop Wednesday. Let me get this playback shut down here. There we go. Hello. That was the last of the GoPro footage from Rampage. So from here on out, you will be getting DVR footage on the beginnings and ends of the live stream of me railing TinyWhoops around Micro Mayhem at Rampage. That'll be the last of the footage that we watch here. As you just saw at the end there, that was a glide very nearly being thrown into the lake to never return. I got really lucky that tree kind of caught it. The directionality of the glide was like there's a path, and then the path goes like this, and it tumbled, and then the path did this, and then the tree caught it right here. If the tree hadn't caught it, it would have just went right into the goddamn lake. And I know people have retrieved from that lake before, but it's a nuclear water treatment plant. Like, I'm sorry, but I ain't going in the lake. It just ain't happening. If somebody else wanted to get that rig back, that's on them, but I wasn't. I will not be going in those lakes anytime. So tonight, I don't have a whole lot of. I mean, we could do a little bit of building. I did tear apart the Chubito, and so we could put it back together. But I don't know. Maybe not. I think tonight we'll just hang out, and I got 7 batteries that need just charging. And why not put them all through the 65mm freestyle Walksnail build? Actually, this isn't really a freestyle build. This is much more of like a cinematic RC drift car chasing build. But if you were to build a 65mm freestyle Walksnail rig, this is kind of how I would build. This is how I would build it. This Mobula 6 canopy, even though the lens kind of hangs out of it, it looks like Snuffleupagus. It's very strong and very safe, and there's only like one little bit of an angle where the lens can actually hit. And I mean, how hard is it really going to hit, right? It's a 20. What was the all up weight on this? Do you guys remember? Was it 26? It was 25 point something grams, right? So it doesn't have a whole lot of momentum, so it should be pretty safe to kind of bash around. You know what I mean? So let's do it. Let's beat this thing up a little bit and see what happens. Although I'm gonna kind of stay in the basement here, so none of the crashes are gonna be all that hard. If you see me fiddling around down here off camera, I've got a bunch of screws that need to be organized. So 2004 T-motor. I don't have those on any rig. It comes with a little. Let me see something. My preferred 2004 has been, for CineWhoops at least, has been these Axis 2004s. Oh, they do. Look at that. And they have a screw to hold the motor bell on. That's pretty amazing. I didn't realize that. Apparently the T-motors do as well. As many of you know, Axis was formed from a couple people from T-motor leaving T-motor, and so most things that Axis does, T-motor does. So like, I noticed that on the T-motor 2004, in this little baggie of screws that it comes with, there was a little tiny short M2 screw, very obviously to instead of a C-clip to hold the motor bell on. But the only problem with the T-motor 2004s is that the KV is a little bit too low. The maximum KV that you can get is 3,000, I believe, which is fine. Like, it works really well if you put Gemfan 5 blades on it, or if you want a slightly worse prop, the HQ 6 or 8 blades. But the what was I just gonna say? Words eluded him. But yeah, the KV is a little bit low on the T-motor. So, well, yeah, no, that KV is fine, but more KV is almost always better because you can motor limit it down, right? Like we always talk about. The Axis 2004s are 3750 KV, I think it is. And so with those, you can run like 3-blade ducted propellers, which is really, really nice. So I opt for the Axises. I think I bought one of the T-motor 2004 3000s for my little box where I try to keep one of most micro motors in, so I can test the notchiness and just have one on hand in case I need something. Yeah, so that's why I had this little bag of screws. T-motor and Axis 2004. So yeah, like the really short little M2s like this that might be kind of specific, I'll make like a little baggie and just write what motor it's for. This is really super helpful with those C-clips. Most C-clips for like a 2mm motor shaft will work on most motors. sometimes the C-clips can be a little bit thicker though, and they'll put a notch in the shaft that it won't work. So when I get a new motor, I'll just make a little tiny plastic bag, write what the motor is on it, and put the specific parts to that motor in the little plastic baggie. And that way, if I need a C-clip for a specific motor, I can get the specific C-clip. This is also nice with like 5-inch motors, 2306s, 2207s. They'll come with an extra washer for up on top of the bell, and an extra little rubber washer for up on top of the bell. And yeah, so keep your shit organized, yo. It'll help you out at some point. It won't help you out today, but it'll help you out down the road, I promise. There'll be a day that you're like, oh shit, those 100 hours I spent getting organized were well worth it. Over on the bench, I got a bunch of shit all plopped all over the place. So this is the AOS 3.5. The ESC is bad in it, so I need to swap the ESC out. And I'm also going to swap the motors out while I'm at it. I'm going to put the Axis 1404s onto it. And I put these little HGLRC. So on the AOS 3.5, since it's a split arm design, each one of the split arm parts is really skinny. So the normal 9x15 race wires that I use will hang off the arm and just look ridiculous. But HGLRC has these little guys with 2 little LED chips on them, and apparently these little guys will work all the way up to 6S, which is amazing. Most of these little super slim LED race wires, won't go beyond 3S. But yeah, supposedly these things go all the way up to 6S, so we're going to give them a shot. So yeah, I got those all soldered on yesterday, and yeah, so they're going to get swapped on here. I also need to swap out the Vista on this. This has a naked Vista, but it is like freezing up every like 5 to 10 seconds. It's super frustrating. So luckily I have another naked Vista that was sent to me by one of you beautiful people that I'm going to swap into this while I'm changing the ESC. And then hopefully this thing will be up and running again. I robbed the Axis 1404 motors from this Ripsqueak, and I haven't decided what I'm going to replace them with. I'm actually considering moving this Ripsqueak over to the 2-inch arms or the 2.5-inch arms and building a... I have a couple of ideas, actually. One idea would be to make a Insta360 Go 2 carrier out of it, leave it on analog, maybe even leave the Runcam hybrid in it so that there's onboard HD when I'm not carrying the Insta360 Go with the little ducts on. The other idea is to move it over to the Ripsqueak V2 bottom plate, which has provisions for AIOs, and then I can move it to an AIO with Walksnail on top, and it'll still carry an Insta360 Go. I really, 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 really wish that Walksnail would have an option to export clean video, because it would be kind of cool to use Walksnail at these cycle chasing gigs, because it'll output 1080, and it would just be cool to be able to do that, and I wouldn't have to use the smart controller. Not using the smart controller is admittedly a little bit sketchy, because I wouldn't be able to tell if I was actually outputting anything to the truck. Like tonight when we're flying Walksnail, I bought a cheap it wasn't that cheap, but I bought a USB cable, HDMI to USB cable off of Amazon, and we were having a problem last live stream where, like, if I would move my head, you guys would get a black screen. We're gonna play around with that a little bit more. I had the cable kind of like janky last time. Today I'm gonna run the cable under my chair, so that, and the port is on the right side of the goggles. So I'm gonna run the cable directly up to the port tonight, and hopefully for these 7 batteries we don't have that same kind of issue. We'll find out soon enough. But yeah, so like if that was a problem, like if that happened and I didn't have a smart controller in front of me, I wouldn't know. I mean, if I have the goggles on, I'm not going to know anyway, but I usually have a PA wrangling batteries for me, so I can just say to them, like, hey, check the screen, is there a live video on it? And they can say yes or no. So, yeah, it would be a little bit creepy to kind of do that, but I can't do it anyway because Walksnail does not have anything in there to output clean video, which just, I don't know, that just seems silly to me. But hey, what the hell do I know? I just work here. What do I know? I just use the gear, you know? What would I know about anything? I'm just a user, and users don't know jack. So these are M2x6s. This is riveting, I know. I have too many M2x6s though, so I'm gonna throw these away. In the chat, let me assume the position, friends. Titan FPV was first, right 9 was next, Northern Tier, Danzilla, the Terrible, RT McKinney, no one FPV, Northern Tier again, Ugellin, I haven't seen you in a while, man, how are you? Danzilla, the Terrible, MSHE, CH3 FPV, Bob Bruce, FP Avery, Riot 9, Hockey Rounds, Big Friend, Mr. Huggy Prado, Chris Mel, Will FPV, Danzilla, the Terrible, Brandon Bell, Merriment, lots of new folks. Why? I guess I should say welcome first. Yeah, new folks, have you been lurking and you're just commenting for the first time, or did you find me somewhere, or do you finally care enough about what I'm doing this live stream to tune in? Let me know. Tag me and tell me why. At CiottiFPV is how you tag me in the chat. It's like this. Look at that. If you want to talk directly to me, this is what you need to do. Type at CiottiFPV or just type CiottiFPV and spell it correctly, and it'll light up an orange for me like that. And I'll know that you're talking to me. Phonics FPV, Douglas Otwell, Titan, CMYK, Riot 9, Ram Donko, Big Whoop, Voluzia, two different people. Athix FPV is here, Storm Rider, YouTube is the thing, Frank Nicholas, Minty, Gusto, two different people again, Professor Biohazard, Will FPV, Bob Bruce, and Michael Belsh with a $10 super chat. He says, I'm a lurker. Thank you for the support. Thank you for lurking. Thank you for finally saying hi. It's okay to lurk, but, you know, talk some shit. Take advantage of, look, you have to suffer through 2 hours of me at a time, so take advantage of that and say hi in the chat. David Johnson, Bitterroot, Chris Croft, Bob Bruce, Will FPV. What's up, everybody? You can lurk. It's fine. Do whatever you want. Don't listen to me. Don't let me make your decisions for you. Or do. I make good decisions sometimes. Anybody need some M2x6s? Going once, going twice, and they're in the garbage. The CMYK says the Lurk King. The Lurk King! I just dropped one of those screws somewhere. Merryman says, saw your Whoop special with JB and I've kind of refocused on Whoops. Very cool. It's a really good time to do that. C-Max says, too lazy to type. Yeah, it's a really, really, really good time to do that. These lightweight, high KV motors that we've got now, okay, they've changed everything for the better. And these are M2x7s. I'm throwing these away as well. Yeah, it's we are really starting to refine TinyWhoop motors, which is pretty amazing. That process is basically trying a million different motor size and KVs with a whole bunch of different pilots and getting feedback. What we've basically noticed here is that 702 is, so what you're trying to do in terms of like refining the perfect motor and let's just say powertrain. No, let's talk about motors. The perfect motor prop combo for a given all-up weight of rig. What you're trying to do is get the lightest weight motor possible to make the amount of power that you want and stay cool. A motor that is too small can still produce extra power, but in doing so, it will overheat and then it will make less power. So there's a really fine balance of you need the motor to be big enough to shed the amount of heat for the amount of power that you want to make, but you want it to be light enough where the weight on the ends of the arms is minimized, because every time we command the rig to do pitch, roll, or yaw, we have to move. The farthest out point is that weight on the ends of the arms. So yeah, and that's hard to do. You can't just, like, there's not a computer program or an engineer on Earth that can just, like, figure that out. Because freestyle is such a sort of liquid thing. You just have to do it, and you have to get it in the hands of a ton of pilots. And what we've finally kind of figured out here is that 702 motors are about as small as we want to go. That's kind of the minimum. On the 65mm rigs, the all-up weight that we're dealing with is low enough for that small of a motor to work really well, as long as it's a really high kV and we put it on the Gemfan bi-blades. That's really sort of been the revelation of the last, like, year of TinyWhoops, and the flight performance has just gone crazy. Like, they fly so good now. It's really, really, really impressive. So yeah, it's a really good time to come back. What length is this? I'm pulling this from the middle. Is it this? Hey, there it is. And I'm actually kind of running out of these, so that's pretty cool. Just found a little baggie of M2x12s. All right. Get in there, M2x12s. Oh, shit. Whatever, it's fine. There we go. So yeah, welcome back, my man. In the chat, if you want to talk directly to me, all you got to do is type CiottiFPV. You can put Nat in front of it, but you don't need to. Let me get caught up here. Dill the Terrible says. Dill the Terrible says, happy hump day to you, CiottiFPV, and rest of the gangly gang. Bob Bruce says, what's up, everyone in CiottiFPV? Hockey Round says, loving the 0702 28,500 motors you suggested for the Mobula 6. Glad you're enjoying them, brother. They are absolute magic. It really, like, 28,000 to me is kind of the minimum for these freestyle-ish TinyWhoops. I took that out of there, but I don't remember how long it is. Okay, so there we go. That's what she said. That is M2x5, and I think these are also M2x5. Let's check them. Hey, if you're organizing your screws, here's how you do it. You take one that you know how long it is, you hold it up next to the one that you don't know what it is, and if it looks like it's the same length, it's the same length. The 1 millimeter, like, you can tell the difference between 1 millimeter. So that one looked right. That was M2x5. Now this is an M2x4, and it's very obviously shorter. I can't show you that, but yeah, that's the easiest way that I've found to organize your screws, is just have a set. Like, initially you have to, like, measure a set of screws with, you know, calipers or just like a decent little ruler, and then you can have your M2x4, your M2x5, your M2x6, label it or whatever. And then from that point on, you're good to go. You can just use those ones that you've already measured to hold the rest of them next to it. What I do kind of recommend is you get one of these little guys, one of these little cases here, and then you just label each little bin. See, number 4, this is a little sticker that says M2x5, M2x6, M2x7. So yeah, get yourself one of these little things. You can get them on Amazon really cheap, and get your ass organized. It's really nice. Like, some people don't like to get organized because the time spent, but by spending some time getting organized, then when you're in the middle of a build, you just open this kit up and grab some M2x6s and you go. Like, versus you get your bag of miscellaneous screws out and you sit there while the build is half done. It's just, in my opinion, it's way smoother and slicker and cleaner, and just makes more sense to be organized, and then during the build process you grab exactly what you need, and away you go. This is also going to prevent, it's going to prevent you from putting like 2 screws that are different lengths into a motor, and one of them's too long and it catches the windings, and you're like, yo, what the hell? That has technically happened to me once with this setup, and it was just me being a little bit sloppy and not paying quite enough attention when I was holding the screws up next to each other. So don't do that, and you'll be all right. Bob Bruce says, what's up, everyone in CiottiFPV? Oh, no, we got that. Where are we at here? CMYK says, yo. Bob Bruce says, I was flying mine around outside and crashed and tumbled, ended up hitting concrete and cracked the lens. Oh, God. What's that? What lens cracked? Walksnail? Walksnail? X12 says, think Axis would make a traditional F40 Pro. Man, I wish. I wish Axis made a lightweight 2306. That would be amazing. But they do not, and I don't know anybody over there. Not only do I not know anybody over there, but I don't have a way of getting in touch with anyone. If you haven't heard, my Facebook got hacked while I was on the way to Rampage. I had 2-factor authentication set up, but apparently 2-factor authentication can now be hacked. And Linus Tech Tips and I know that firsthand. So I do not have access to my Facebook. If you hear of anybody saying, like, Ciotti's an asshole, I've messaged him a million times and he didn't get back to me, do me a favor and just let him know that I'm not able to get any of my messages on Facebook. I've got like 1,000. Today I spent a little bit of time with a new account that I set up, trying to friend a bunch of people, and then I just got really frustrated because like Facebook won't allow you to even like request from people that you're not like connected to. So then you have to message people, and like it just sucks. And I'm really frustrated. They tried to get my Instagram. Instagram sent me an email that said unknown login attempt. If this wasn't you, click here. I clicked there, and it was all good. That was it. But with Facebook, the same thing happened, and I clicked the button, and they said, hey, you got to do all these goddamn things. And I did all those goddamn things. And then they said, okay, we'll get back to you. And that was coming up on 3 weeks ago. So, and I did a bunch of research, and on Reddit, there's a shitload of people that are in the same boat, and they're just like, yeah, I haven't heard back, and it's been 6 months, 8 months. So, I don't know. It's a really big problem for me. I've started on Facebook like 15 to 20 different groups for like Mustangs and Miatas and just airsoft and like everything I've ever been into. I've started Facebook groups, and so now none of those groups have an account connected to the admin. Like most of those groups I have moderators, but they don't have full privileges. Like only the person that created the group has like full admin privileges. So apparently all those groups are now fucked, and you know, every memory that I've had on Facebook, which is like my life for the last 15 years, is just kind of gone. It's not gone, like the page is still up, but I can't see any of it because now I'm like an outside. It's yeah. Fuck you, Facebook, for having such a shitty security protocol, and just yeah, this is not good. Also, like CiottiFPV was on there, so like the worst thing about all of this is every single conversation, like for whatever reason, most FPV people use Messenger to talk to each other, and my Messenger is gone. So every single conversation that I've ever had is gone with it, and like that's bullshit. Because like there's a lot of like business conversations and shit in there, you know, and like, so yeah, I'm not happy about this, but there's nothing I can do. There's absolutely nothing I can do, and that's the even more annoying part. I just have to sit here with my thumb up my ass, and just wait. You know, I mean, I guess I could take my thumb out of my ass, but Went to a weird place. So yeah, there's that, which has been annoying the hell out of me. Denzel the Terrible says, CiottiFPV gang, I'm about to fire up the build with the smoke stopper. What say you? Will it go? Taking bets now. I think it'll be fine. I think it'll be good. Will FPV says, we all care so much. Good. Michael Belsh, thanks again for the $10 super chat. Super generous of you. Really appreciate it. Hey guys, this is my full-time job. You can do what Michael did and do a super chat, or you can do a direct PayPal, and that way YouTube and Google won't take 30%. It's okay for them to do that. They give me this platform to stream on. But if you don't want them to take 30% of your money, you can head on over to CiottiFPV.com, and there's a PayPal button. There's a whole bunch of other ways that you can support me. Okay, go. Thank you. Patreon really helps, and you're going to get a ton of benefits from it. You're going to potentially get entered into 1 or 3 giveaways a month, every month. You're going to get access to a YouTube playlist with sketchy flying, unreleased flying, half-done edits, Patreon-only live streams. You're going to get access to 2 Facebook groups that I no longer have control of. But they do have moderators, which is nice. And a whole bunch of other things I'm forgetting. There's a whole bunch of tech articles over on the Patreon page. You can click Tech Talk at the top, and that'll filter for those. So yeah, lots of really good benefits to joining Patreon. And if you join at the lowest tier, you will only be paying 7.5 cents per hour of content that I create on a monthly basis. That's all it costs, 7.5 cents per hour. It's been 34 minutes. Has this been worth 3.75 cents? I think it has. It definitely has. Help a brother out and join the Patreon. It's the closest thing that I've got to a bank account. Not a bank account. A full-time job. Etsy has some really fun stickers and hardware that you can buy from me. Over on Fiverr, you can work one-on-one with me, or you can just email me or message me. Teespring has some really fun t-shirts and other random stuff. There's the PayPal link. And then I have a whole bunch of affiliate links here. If you're doing an order from any website, someone probably has an affiliate link to that website. If you find their affiliate link and support them, they'll keep making content for you to watch, and you will benefit from that. So hook us all up and try to use affiliate links before you check out from websites. I have affiliate links to WeBleed FPV, Newbie Drone FPV Cycle, Amazon Get FPV, Oh My God HD0, Flywheel, Max Banggood, Camera Butter, AliExpress. All listed out right here. Over on ciotti.donkey.gg. CMYK says, don't tell me what to do. Volusia says, hey buddy, hope all is well. Mobula 6, 25,000 kV, 4.4 Betaflight preferred preset pick on Betaflight. I don't use the presets for like tuning and stuff like that. Tuning has become so easy that you pretty much don't need to. Tuho Tomi, yo! I haven't seen you in a while. All kinds of people are coming back. Yo, what's happening? Everybody getting back into FPV? Okay, I like that. You know I like that. I'll get to your chat comment in a second, Tuho Tomi. Yeah, it's so easy to tune nowadays that I don't know. I just don't see the point of using presets. Take your filter sliders, move the gyro filter slider all the way up as high as it'll go. Take your D-term filter slider and move it up to like 1.1 or 1.2. That's going to take a big chunk of latency out. Go to your PID tab, take your master multiplier if you want to be totally lazy, and just start moving that up. Move it from like 1.0 to 1.2, fly the rig, see how it sounds and feels. If it's still normal, touch the motors, make sure they're not boiling hot. If it's still okay, move it to 1.4, fly it around. At some point, you're going to move it, maybe that's 1.6, maybe that's 1.8, maybe that's 2.0. At some point, the quad is going to sound a little bit grumbly and like grindy and shit. It's not going to sound smooth anymore. At that point, you've gone a little bit too far. Just back it off a little bit. That's tuning. If you want to be a little bit more specific, you can like go to the top slider, which is D gain, and you can give it a little bit more D gain than the second slider, which is P and I gain. That's a little bit more specific. way to tune. Like I would, if they're both at 1.0, I would move the D gain to 1.2, fly it, make sure it's okay. If it's okay, move them both up by 0.2. So now you're like 1.4, 1.2, and just keep doing that. Keep moving them up in that little, 1.2 to 1.0 ratio until the rig gets a little bit angry, and then back them off a little bit. And that's an even more specific way of tuning. Feed forward, that slider is how sharp the quad is going to feel. So if you want it sharper, move it up. If you want it less sharp and smoother, move it down. TinyWhoops, you don't really need to add extra authority on the pitch axis, so the 2 pitch sliders are pretty much worthless. Eye gain you don't really need to play around with, but if you want, take the eye gain slider, move it all the way down, fly it, see how it feels, move it all the way up, fly it, see how it feels, and then you can pick where do you want it in between. Eye gain has a specific feel to it, and by turning it all the way down and all the way up, you'll see exactly what that's like. But if you turn it all the way up, it might start acting really weird. So if it does, bring it down a little bit. Eventually you'll find a spot where it flies fine, and you can just feel what iTerm is doing, and then turn it all the way back down, and that'll really show you what it's up to. Don't bring it all the way down, come to think of it. With the iTerm slider, bring it down to like 0.2. If you bring it all the way down to 0, it's like kind of hard to fly the rig, so you're not really... It's hard to feel what it's doing because you're just trying to not crash. But yeah, right there, like taking these PID values and moving them all the way down and then all the way up and just flying it, that's how I learned how to tune. That's how most people had to learn how to tune 5, 6, 7 years ago before we had the resources that we do today. I mean, you can watch a bunch of Rosser videos and a bunch of UAV tech videos and really learn like the nuts and bolts behind what's happening in the tuning. It might be quicker to just build an analog rig, land it, go into your OSD with the stick command, which is right stick forward, left stick left, go into profile, and then go into simplified tuning and just move the sliders around. Just grab one of the sliders and move it way the hell up. And then save and reboot, fly it around, bring it back down, go back in there, take that slider and move it the entire other direction. Because you're going to, like, here's the other thing, like, knowing what's happening behind the scenes with PID tuning, it's great, don't get me wrong, and I love it, but being able to then connect that in your brain with what actually happens in flight is a lot harder than just knowing what's going on, and it's kind of all that matters. So you could make a really strong argument for like learning by doing, learning by moving the sliders, by min-maxing the sliders in a way, because that's going to show you, that's going to let you feel what happens versus versus learning the math behind it, essentially. And knowing what's actually happening behind the scenes. You could definitely... I can see the argument for the other side of that, for sure. So take that with a little bit of a grain of salt. But try it. Because it's really easy to do, and it's going to teach you a lot. Wow, this is like an M2 by 6.5. This is like, this screw is like exactly in between. It's just the tiniest little bit longer than a normal M2 by 6, but it's just not quite as long as an M2 by 7. That's absolutely maddening. These are the iFlight screws. They've got like they're like a mix between a socket head and a button head. It's kind of interesting, and they've got like this little raised. This little like polished lip. No, it is an M2 by 6 because that was another iFlight screw that is measured out at M2 by 7. Okay, so these are all M2 by 6s. Cool. Yeah, I like these little iFlight screws. Let me show you what they are. These are what the iFlight screws look like. Let's see if I can show this to you. All right, so see that like polished 45-degree lip on them? That's an iFlight. That's what an iFlight screw looks like. There, you can really see it. Yeah, you see the shape of the top of it? Is that the least interesting thing that you guys have ever seen on YouTube ever? Don't bullshit me. There's no way that's the least interesting thing on YouTube. Close, but definitely not the most interesting. Least interesting, rather. Big Whoop says, new Patreon email. Very cool, man. I'm a little bit behind on my emails right now, but I am going to be getting caught up. Maybe tonight, maybe tomorrow. Aaron Mueller says, hey. Volusia, if you have any other questions, let me know. Those 25,000 kV motors, though, they should fly really good at stock values. But yeah, no reason to not crank it up a little bit. Riot9 with a 669 Australian super chat. He says, long time lurker, first time caller. Man, the days of young folks would have no idea what first time caller means. That's such like an OG radio call in thing. Long time listener, first time caller. Hey, Blizz of OZ45. Is that it? Blizz of or is it Blizzafaz45? Says the wireless data transmission rate of 5V digital VTXs. Can this tech be used in other ways? The wireless data transmission rate of 5V digital VTXs. Can this be used in other ways? Probably, yeah. I don't know of any. I can't think of any off the top of my head, but I'm sure it can. Denzel the Turbo says, I love it when CiottiFPV screams my name. FonixFPV says, on an X12 ELRS V2.1 flight controller, where would you solder on a 1S Walksnail Avatar VTX? You might not be able to, because that AIO has a VTX built into it, so they might not have a set of pads, but let's take a look. So we're going to search for Happy Model X12 wiring. That'll usually find you a, there we go, something exactly like this. So, all right. Well, so it looks like there's a bunch of different versions. X12 play. Wow, there's a lot of different versions. Okay, so I'm assuming you've got the ELRS version here. Okay, so it looks like you're going to need to use the plug header, because the plug header is where this thing is. Oh no, you're good. There's pads here. Here, I'm going to drop this into the drop this link into the chat. Although now you know what to Google to find this. So yeah, you're going to use this row of pads here. You're going to use this ground pad. You're going to use. Oh wait, no. I'm sorry. Nope, these aren't the pads you need. You need these pads over here. Here's going to be your problem, though. That thing, it's going to cook its VTX, because it's going to be running the VTX with no antenna plugged in. So what you want to do is force it into pit mode. So you need to actually get it like set up. Like you need to get that rig on analog. Well, no, I guess you could do it in the VTX table. Just go into the VTX table and set it into pit mode, and turn off like low power disarm and stuff like that. So yeah, force it into pit mode so that the onboard VTX runs at like 0.1 milliwatt. And then this is the little cluster of pads here that you're going to use. You're going to use either RX1 and TX1, or nah, don't use RX2. Yeah, use RX1 and TX1. That's what's gonna that's what's basically gonna get your OSD data into and out of the flight controller from the Walksnail. And then you have to pick. I haven't really decided yet, but you could use this 5-volt pad and this ground pad, or you could tap into the battery pads and use the battery positive and grounds. It all depends. Do you want to use the 5-volt BEC on the AIO to power the Walksnail VTX, or do you want to send it VBAT from from the battery pads and let it use its internal 5-volt BEC? I just had a guy comment on one of the Walksnail videos saying that to be careful with the Walksnail light VTXs. He's blown up 4 of them. I questioned him for a little bit more info, and I said, hey man, how have you been powering it? And he said he's been powering it from the flight controller's 5-volt back. And I said, yo, hook up a multimeter to the 5-volt back on your AIO, and make sure that it's only sending 5 volts out. Make sure it's not fucked up and it's sending a bunch more than 5 volts. Instead of doing that, he just took those old light VTXs and just hooked them up to the battery leads, and they came back to life. So, yeah, these AIOs are crammed with stuff. And so I'm kind of more into using, I think, and this is how I built this rig, I think I'm more into hooking up to the battery leads and letting the Walksnail board use whatever the hell BEC it's got. You know, there's also a chance that it doesn't even have a 5-volt back. It might have like a 3.3-volt back. So there's the potential that by sending it 5-volt from your AIO, you're potentially using the AIO's 5-volt back and then the Walksnail's 3.3-volt back, which is kind of silly, right? Just hook it up to VBAT and just use the one BEC, right? Reduce a point of failure. So yeah, I think he did say that one of his light VTXs did not come back to life, which is a shame, because what I think that means is that the AIO's 5-volt back is over voltage, and it actually might have cooked that Walksnail VTX. So that sucks, the big one. So yeah, I think I'm really leaning towards sending the Walksnail VTX's VBAT, and just let it kind of do its thing. Because here's the other deal, you know, when we did this build, I was kind of going back and forth as to what to do there. And I had said that by using the AIO's 5-volt back, potentially that's going to make the Walksnail VTX run better because it's getting a solid 5-volt power source. Well, now that I go through this mental gymnastics, I don't really think that's true. But although it kind of depends, but I'll betcha there is a back. There kind of has to be a back on the Walksnail, at which point it doesn't matter. Like, putting 2 backs in line is kind of silly. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I really think that I'm just going to be sending all of the Walksnail VTXs just VBAT from now on, because they kind of have to have a BEC on them. So let that BEC do the work. BEC is a chip that takes a higher voltage. Well, it doesn't have to be a higher voltage, but it takes a voltage and it flattens it out to 5-volt, to 3.3-volt, to whatever it's designed to flatten it out to. So yeah, it takes a voltage and it converts it to another voltage, but it also locks it to that voltage. So when you send it VBAT, you know, initially the BEC is getting, on TinyWhoop's case, 4.35 volts, and then as the battery sags down, it gets less and less voltage. But what it does is it doesn't care that that voltage has changed. It just outputs 5 or 3.3 or whatever it's set to all the time. So yeah, I think feeding the Walksnail's VBAT might, and to be honest, I think like kind of all VTXs, feeding them VBAT is maybe the best possible idea, because you're taking the AIO's 5-volt BEC completely out of the equation, and they're rated, you know, VTXs are rated for like a range of voltages. So as long as your VBAT source is within that range of voltages, I mean, I think we could even expand on this by saying that as long as you're running an electrical component that has a range of voltages that it wants, that basically means that that electric component has its own BEC. So why would you feed that power from another BEC? Like, you might as well feed that electrical component VBAT and let its back just do its thing. There are some components in our world, some of the Nano VTXs and some of the receivers, that specifically say, hey, I need 5 volt. They don't have a range, they just ask for 5 volt. So those items, absolutely, you've got to feed them off of a BEC. But if it's got a range, I kind of feel like we should feed it that range. Although in some cases, your VBAT source is outside of that range, right? Like if you've got a rig that's on 6S and you've got a VTX on there that says, hey, my range is from 10 volts to 20 volts, don't feed that VBAT from 6S, it'll explode. So you got to kind of pay attention to that. I guess the lazier way of doing it is just to feed shit maybe that's why people just feed 5 volt to stuff. But yeah, I'm going to start thinking more about that because the 5 volt Becks do fail. And if you've got 2 of them running in line, that's stupid. That's twice as many failure points. Just use the one that's on the VTX. And I guess, God forbid, if that fails down the road, if it doesn't grenade the rest of the board, you can then run it from 5 volt, right? Maybe. But I bet you when that thing fails, it'll grenade the board. I guess it depends. If it fails and lets more voltage through, it'll grenade the board. If it fails and doesn't let any voltage through, well, you're still kind of screwed. I guess if it fails, it fails. It kind of grenades the board no matter what if it fails, I guess. Not necessarily. Not necessarily. If that board has a 5 volt out pad, you can feed 5 volt into that 5 volt out pad and it'll spread that 5 volts out and it'll power that board back on. That's one of the ways that you can bring a dead flight controller back to life. If the 5 volt back is what failed on the flight controller, you can put an external 5 volt back in, shoot 5 volt into any of the 5 volt pads, and those are all connected, so it'll distribute that 5 volt. You're going to lose things like your voltage in your OSD, which is kind of annoying, but that only really matters for analog rigs, come to think of it. No, it doesn't, because with a digital rig, that's an interesting question. Let's get out of the weeds. We're pretty deep right now. Chris Croft says, I've been flying Mobula 6 HD0 802 19,000s, and I just got a Mobilite 7 Walksnail Whoop with 1002 20,000s. I'm surprised the difference in power. Yeah, even a little bit of extra kV makes a huge difference, and 1002s are a much girthier, like more grunty motor than 802s. That Mobula 6, those 802 19,000 kV motors are about the worst possible motors for that rig. You want to get that thing up to 30,000 kV, especially because it has HD0 on board. So get some 0702, 30,000 or 28,500 kV motors. Right now, what's in stock are the Weebleed FPV 0702 28,500s. It'll completely transform that Mobula 6 rig. And it'll actually fly decent. These 20,000 kV motors suck, even on 75mm rigs. To be honest, they're a lot better on 75mm rigs, but it's still way too low of a kV. You want 25,000 kV absolute minimum, and then with the 65mm rigs, you want to push it up towards 30,000 kV. So yeah, those motors on both of those rigs kind of suck, Chris. To be honest. The 1002 20,000s are a lot less sucky, but getting that Mobilite 7 onto an 802 25,000 kV motor will bring it alive and it'll lighten it up. So yeah, it's all about kV. Prado says, I've been watching some live streams and I've joined Patreon, but since I'm in Europe, I usually don't watch the streams live. Also, English is not my first language, it's hard to comment. Glad to have you, brother. Lurk away. And the people in the chat here are like they're not normal cheeseburger-eating, gun-toting Americans. They're kind and understanding people. So if you type something stupid, they're not going to jump down your throat and trash on you. And if they do, just tell me and I'll kick them all off, because that's not cool. But yeah, we have a pretty unique group, so don't be put off by average American stupidity. We are not average Americans here, that's for sure. I have a bunch of these little packs of screws with... So here's... When you're about to throw away a little pack of screws, if there are button-headed M2 M2x7 or M2x8s inside, don't throw those away. Because those are the screws that you want to use to hold your props on. A button-headed M2 screw is legitimately actually a little bit lighter than a socket-headed M2 by 7 or 8 screw. So yeah, hang on to those. Those are gold. Sure, it's a little bit annoying when you crash inverted and you strip out the button-headed screw, but that's pretty rare that happens. So yeah, button-headed M2x7, M2x8 screws are gold. They will actually make your rig fly better, because the rotating assembly, the motor bell and the propeller and the screws that you use in the propeller, that is trying to get sped up and slowed down thousands of times per second by the PID loop. That's what the PID loop rate is. That 4K, 3.2K, 8K. That's how many times the PID loop is asking the gyro what the hell's happening. And if you're in a situation where it's kind of vibrating or oscillating or in prop wash or something like that, it's going to be speeding up and slowing down the motors. So the weight of your rotating assembly, much like with cars, right? Sprung weight versus unsprung weight, is super, super, super important. And it's like kind of free performance that you can get. So yeah, M2x7 button head is the way to go. Brother Hobby, actually, not too long ago, was putting titanium M2x7 and M2x8 screws in with some of their motors, the VY line of motors. So I actually managed to get a bunch of them, and those are really my preferred set of T-mount hardware, because titanium is even lighter than, these little screw packs are just stainless or mild steel. And so yeah, that's the real hot ticket item, but you can't get those. I mean, there is a website that sells M2 titanium hardware, but it's mega expensive. I think it's like proper titanium. In FPV, we get like the garbage titanium, like the low grade titanium. It's still nice and lightweight, but it's nowhere near as strong as like the proper expensive titanium. So yeah, there's that. But yeah, these little screw kits have a whole bunch of M2x7 button heads in them, which is awesome, because I actually just ran out and started using M2x7 socket headed again. There we go again, back in the weeds. Michael D says, after the Facebook hack, I hope you changed all your other passwords. I would for every account I have set up. Yeah, Facebook was on an older, less secure password. I had previously changed most of my passwords. I don't know why I didn't change the Facebook password at that point. That was a total oversight. But yeah, I went and looked, and I didn't have any other accounts on that same password, which I don't know. My guess is that Facebook makes it hard to change your password, so I went to do it, and then I just said to hell with it, it'll be fine. Which, yeah, it's stupid. That was stupid. Stupid, stupid, stupid. But yeah, I've been using a much more secure password for a number of years. I started working for a healthcare company, and their password requirements were just nutty. And so I had to make a bunch of passwords for them that were super strong, but that I would also like remember. And so yeah, that was a bunch of years ago. And that was when I kind of came up with some stronger passwords to use. And slowly but surely, I started using them, but a little bit too slowly and not quite surely enough, apparently. There are my button-headed M2x7s sitting right in there. All right, cool. Titan says, I have a 75mm Whoop with 802 29,700 kV motors. And I know that Gemfan biblades are like the king, but would triblade 1640 be a bad idea? Absolutely. Where I live, I can't get the Gemfans any cool color. Yeah, so Gemfan biblades are 1210. 12 as in 1.2 inches long, 10 as in 10 pitch. So it's there's not much pitch, and it's a very small propeller. A triblade 1640 is 1.6 inches long, which is a big, it doesn't sound like a lot, but it's a huge increase versus 1.2. And 40 pitch, instead of 10 pitch, it's 40 pitch. So yeah, a 1640 on an 802 is going to be big time struggle bus, especially at 29,700 kV. So if you're going to try that, the motor's probably going to cook. So you want to do motor limiting. I would motor limit down to like 80% for that. And it'll fly. It won't fly good, but it will fly. The response time will be horrible. You're taking a really lightweight, really easy to turn propeller, and you're replacing it with a really heavyweight, really hard to turn propeller because of the length and the pitch. The pitch is the angle, basically the angle that the blade is at. It's not actually that, but that's basically what it is. So yeah, those motors probably would not survive at 100% on those 1640s. If you can get your hands on, so what you really, it sounds like you're going up to a bigger frame. What you want are oh wait, no, you said you have a 75mm whoop. Okay. So yeah, you want the 1.6 inch bi-blades, which are 1610. They're the same low pitch, but they're the bigger size. So, and then if you want more than that, Gemfan has a new 1608, so it's 8 pitch versus 40 pitch. So yeah, those new 1608s would be a way better choice than 1640s, that's for sure. But yeah, the Gemfan bi-blades are really what you want. The Gemfan bi-blades on high kV 802s are pretty amazing. Although 29,700 is actually still too much, even for the Gemfan bi-blades. You would want to motor limit that down to maybe like 92%, maybe 90%. But yeah, only on those Gemfan bi-blades. On any tri-blade, you're going to want to motor limit like 80%, maybe even more, maybe even 70%. So yeah, be careful. 802 motors that are high kV on the Gemfan bi-blades are like at their limit. So to put them on tri-blades, you're over the limit, and then 29,700 is really, really, really high kV. Ideally, you want 27,000 or even 25,000 kV. 27,000 kV is a lot on a 75mm rig with the Gemfan bi-blades, to give you some perspective. Monkey D says, Facebook sucks balls. Sorry to hear that happened. Can you pay someone to hack it back for you? LOL. That's a great question for Google. Can I pay someone to hack my Facebook account back to me? It's a really good idea. Quora's got it covered. Yes. Wait, what? That's not it. What? Man, Quora sucks. Give me a Reddit post, for Christ's sakes. It's only Quora. I'm gonna leave this tab open because at this point I'll do anything. Like I mean, as long as it's not super. I don't have a lot of money to spend, but if I can find somebody for $50 to hack it back for me, I'm down with that, yo. I like this. Like, this is impacting my business. Like, this is impacting my ability to do this full time, and I'm not fucking with that. Like, that's not cool. So if I have to pay a little bit of money, that's totally fine. Like, I wish the hackers would send me a fucking email and say, hey, for $50 we'll give you your shit back. I'd be like, yup, done. Take my fucking money, you scum. Although a lot of times apparently they then don't give it to you back. But I don't know. I hate everything. Everything's the worst. Nothing's the worst. Everything's fine. CMAX says, are you chasing Facebook support? Get it escalated. There's no way to do that. It is like a one-track thing. You click this, you follow the instructions, and that's it. There's no escalation. There's no anything. There's no way to get in touch with them. I found a couple of Reddit posts, and one of them had like a bunch of a little bit older Facebook email addresses, and I tried emailing those. I messaged them on Instagram, but you know, I mean, they're one of the biggest companies on earth. They don't have the ability to deal with individuals, so yeah, there's no way to contact them. There's a mailing address, but and I'm thinking about mailing them a fucking letter because there's like no other options. So I don't know. It's a goddamn nightmare. Freelojo with dropping the Patreon link. Thank you, dude. Oh wow, I'm super backed up. All right, I'm gonna try to go a little bit faster through here. Toyo Tommy with a £5.99 super chat with a little one of these. Thank you, brother. Glad to have you back. Frankie BFPV says, question, will a Ciotti 3-inch frame Walksnail build rip? For sure it will. I'm going to be doing a Walksnail Rip Squeak, which is a very similar frame to mine that maybe someday will be out. And I'll let you know for sure. But on a 3-inch rig, Walksnail, the weight penalty of Walksnail is like practically nothing, especially when you take into consideration that like my 3-inch builds are on these Runcam hybrids, which might be heavier. Like taking one of these Rip Squeaks that's on the Runcam hybrid and moving it over to Walksnail might actually like save a gram or two. But even if it doesn't, yeah, a 3-inch rig will with Walksnail as the FPV and HD will fly amazing as long as you get the right, you know, motor and prop and battery combo, which we've talked at length about. The short version of that is you want a 1404 that's north of 4,000 kV. 4,500 kV is a really good number. The T-motor 1404s are an awesome choice. They might be the best choice. For props, you want the Gemfan 3052s. I know that sounds like a lot, but it's not actually 52 pitch. It's only like 35 pitch, and they're the best propellers that we have at the moment. And then you want it on 4S. 6S doesn't do any good on anything smaller than 5-inch. It just cooks ESCs quicker. So yeah, that's how you make a 3-inch that absolutely rips. FP Avery says, found you on YouTube and watching all your old stuff. Great job. Keep it up. Thank you, dude. Thanks for the support and hanging. Professor Biohazard says, why analog? You can access that in Walksnail in 4.4. I don't know what that's in reference to, Biohazard. That was a half an hour ago that you said that. I said, why analog? You can access that. Yeah, I don't know what that's in reference to. Tag me again and let me know. CMYK says, found an old gangly guy unpacking some boxes. Posted in Discord, Livestream Live. Don't switch. Livestream Live is that Gumby? Oh my god, Off Axis found a huge... Here you go. So here's one of the perks of joining the Patreon for as little as 7.5 cents per hour of content from me, or 10 cents a day. You get access to all of these Patreon-only text channels here, and this is Livestream Live. Yo, that is legit. I told you guys that, like, car-based RC is way bigger than FPV, way more popular than FPV. There is someone with a spot like this near you, and you can go there and chase them with your TinyWhoops, and they will love you, and you will have so much fun. This is wild, yo. Look at that. Look at all these maniacs. Damn, dude. Look at that. Look at that Jesus. Look at that Gumby Gangle. Gangle Gumby. CMYK is struggling with range on some of his TinyWhoops. He's got a big old antenna up in there. Now, it's funny how big one of the little small antennas looks when you put it on a TinyWhoop. Okay. I got way too many windows open. Freelojo says Diatone runs those same screws. Those are they are Diatone screws. They are not iFlate screws. Thank you for saying that. Yeah, the screw that I showed you earlier is a Diatone screw. My bad. I get Diatone and iFlate mixed up quite a bit. Zach Machina says, can you confirm if your Facebook got hacked or not? I got a join request to the TinyWhoop group, and I don't know if it was you. Yep, that's my new account, Zach. yeah, this is it's just a nightmare. I spent a whole bunch of time making like a new account with a new email, and I'm going through like trying to friend people, and they're like texting me like, yo, I think your Facebook got hacked. God damn it. Ramdongo says no VTX X12. Is there such a thing? Is there an X12 without a VTX? What? That would be cool. There is! What? I didn't know that. X12 Lite V1 flight controller, no VTX. The only thing that sucks about that is that the X12 is oversized in here and it won't fit on any of the 65 frames. Christ, it won't even fit on many of the 75 frames. There's only like 2 frames this damn thing fits in. That's pretty cool that that they sell a version of it without a VTX. Do you get anything else like black box? Tell me there's black box. Doesn't look like it. Oh man, that's pretty cool though. I didn't know that existed. That's slick. Take this guy, break this ceramic antenna off, and replace it with a little piece of wire, and this would be a great AIO for dragging around Walksnail. Hell, you could even technically run this on 2S. It is rated for 2S. And then build something that really hammers. This would be interesting to put like Walksnail in this, and then put it in an 85 frame. Although you really don't need all that power. Wow, very cool. Very, very, very cool, actually. I'm going to leave this tab opened because, well, no, I'm not. Yeah, so don't do that. Well, here's the problem with this thing without a VTX built in is it's too heavy. There are a couple of different, oh, that was a stupid search. There are a couple of AIOs that are significantly lighter, which have ELRS built in. Does GetFPV not sell the Beta FPV Cross AIO? All right, so here's one of them, the Happy Model Cross AIO. But I don't know. I don't know about this. Maybe it's okay. When this first came out, somebody in chat said, yo, I snagged one and it blew up right away. So that's a little concerning. But yeah, Beta FPV makes an AIO that looks exactly like this. That like all of the racers run, and I do not hear many complaints about reliability, and the racers crash hard. So that's the one that I'm kind of going with. Your other option is Neutron RC. If you're doing an order on Newbie Drone, you can snag the Neutron RC F411 1S. I have one of these coming. It'll be here today, tomorrow, the next day, maybe. So I'll let you know what I think about it. But Neutron RC makes really expensive ESCs for like lifters and shit. $140, $170, $150. So I feel like Neutron RC is maybe a company that makes good quality stuff. So this Neutron RC flight controller might be the right one for lightweight Walksnail builds. But yeah, if you're gonna put Walksnail in as the VTX, why not get a lighter weight AIO? You know what I mean? Like the X12, it doesn't really, like, you know, it's full sized because it's got the VTX on board. You take the VTX off and it's like, well, why is it full sized now? Just make it smaller. Make the logo bigger, make the AIO smaller. Make the logo bigger is an internal graphic designer joke that only they will understand. Basically, every client that a graphic designer has ever had has asked them to make the logo bigger. Like, a graphic designer spends all this time making everything the right size and making the ratios look good, and then they send it to the client, and the first thing they say is, oh, can you make the logo bigger? Not trusting all of the work that the graphic designer just did. I have to assume that at some point graphic designers purposefully make the logo smaller, like they do all of the design and get the logo the correct size and to match up with everything else and like it to be a piece of art, and then I would think that they would then shrink it down, and so that way when they send it to the client and they say, can you make the logo bigger, they go, yeah, sure, and then they send the original good proper version. Oh great, I made it bigger and now it's the right size. FonXFPV says, it seems like the Onboard VTX power bridge would solve the Onboard VTX overheating. I didn't know there was one. That's pretty cool. And looks like a bunch of you guys are now calling that out. Just remove the VTX power bridges to disable the VTX. I bet you that no VTX X12 just has that solder bridge unbridged. FPV Trucker says the bridge needs to be desoldered. Very cool. Kevin Sumner says, what's up? CiottiFPV and gang. Kyle C says, Trappy once explained a long time ago, BEC wired to BEC will eventually cause one to fail because they would both be fighting each other. Very interesting. Very, very, very interesting. I'd never really thought about that until this live stream. Foho said, oh no, we got that. Phonics FPV says, Michael D and FPV Jerker, thanks for the answer. I'll have a look at this again. So when it's up as a video to wrap my head around this even better. So he says, so solder the VBAT plus ground and then use TX1 and RX1. Exactly right. Yep. And the T stands for transmit, R stands for receive. So the TX1 on your AIO is going to transmit to the RX receive on your Walksnail. And then the TX on your Walksnail VTX is going to transmit to RX1 on the AIO. It's important to know that. If you go RX to RX, it won't work because they're both going to be trying to receive, and vice versa. Low Rollin' Groove says, CiottiFPV or gang, any advice on mounting a new Runcam Nano 3 into a new Mobula 6 canopy frame, E6000? What about the small bit of padding that comes with stock? Low Rollin', I'm assuming that you ordered, there's two things you can order. When there's two versions of the Mobula 6 canopy. One version of the canopy comes completely naked without the second piece. So you can order a Mobula 6 canopy that looks exactly like this and it won't do you any good. There is a secondary little piece in there, which sometimes I have one floating around, but in this case I don't. But it won't, yeah, you can't really see it in there, but it's okay. You don't need to see it. Well, we could just look for the, here. Mobula 6 canopy. So, yeah, they sell it. They sell it like this, and it doesn't do you any good. What you need is that. So yeah, this doesn't do, there it is. That's the other piece that you need. It's stupid that they just sell the canopy like this. I guess I understand, because if you have a Mobula 6 and you break this part of the canopy, you can just replace this part of the canopy. But this stupid little piece can't cost them anything. And I know that they had to have a billion of them made because it's molded. So yeah, they should just include this with all of them. But yeah, this is the piece that you need, that it sounds like maybe you don't have. And so yeah, it looks like this one for $3 whole. There it is. They call it the camera clip. So yeah, the camera clip is what you need. So maybe just, I don't know. If you ever have, if you had a Mobula 6 with that camera, like you have this piece, hopefully you didn't throw the camera away with this piece connected to it. Sometimes they goop it up with liquid electric tape, and it's really hard to get that piece off of the old camera, but it will come off. Just be patient and try not to cut yourself. But yeah, that's the little piece that you need to mount that camera to the Mobula 6 canopy. Kevin Sumner says, yep, I must run the HD0 Whoop Light VTXs on VBAT on the TinyWhoops, otherwise the VEC will brown out. Wild. Kyle C says, I eat cheeseburgers while shooting guns. Brandon Woodford says, hey all on CiottiFPV. Kevin Sumner says, time to get a password manager. I've never had a problem. I've never had a single issue with passwords or being hacked or anything like that until this. And and like, you know, it's weird. I guess it's not weird, but yeah, I mean, this happened. I think Linus Tech Tips just had the thing happen to them where two-factor authentication failed. So I think it's a pretty new thing that the hackers are able to beat 2FA. I don't know. Foho! Is it Foho or Fohox? It's Foho for me, baby. $5 super chat. Thank you, homie. He says, what's the smallest motor you'd use with Gemfan D4X5s? What the hell are those? Gemfan D4X5. D4-5. Is this what you're talking about? So this is, Jesus, this is a 4-inch 5-blade propeller. That's going to need a big-ass motor. I would maybe run that on a 5-inch motor. Yeah, I would run that on a 2306 or... So it's a cinematic propeller, so I'm going to assume that you're building some sort of a cinematic rig, all right? So I'm going to recommend a wider motor than a taller motor. So, like, I'm not going to recommend a 2207 because that's a little bit taller. 2306 is roughly the same, a little bit less stator volume, but it's wider, so it'll run cooler. So yeah, I would run a 2306 or a 2305, I think is what I would do with this big of a 5-bladed propeller. I think that might be enough. That might actually not be enough motor though, but it's a good starting point, and you might already have a set of 2306s floating around. So try that. Oh, you told me more. Running okay on super old 1806s, but planning a new build for quiet naked GoPro. That's going to be one hell of a powerful rig for a naked GoPro. You can get away with 2-inch propellers. You can get away with a 2-inch rig for a naked GoPro. A rig on 4-inch 5 blades, that'll pick up a 120, 130, 140 gram camera like it doesn't even, like it won't even notice it. So... yeah, you technically speaking, and unless you already have like the frame and everything else picked out, I would shrink it down. Those 1806s, you can run them on like a 3-inch prop, and they'll crank the shit out of a 3-inch prop, and that'll be tons of power. That'll even be overpowered for a naked GoPro. That would carry a full weight GoPro as well. So yeah, I don't think you need to go quite so big unless you've already got the damn thing built or spec'd out, or you already bought it, right? So yeah. Zach Machina says, thanks for letting us know not being able to log in. Just approved you on the TinyWhoop group. Welcome back, LOL. Thanks for approving me, brother. Hopefully I will get my old account back and I will be able to cancel, delete this new account. Allfax's FPV says, I have to build a new Mobula 7 HD for the coming weekend. CMYK to chase those RC drift cars. I'll send you a pic of the place. Very cool. Build a 6 instead. I think this is the hot shit for chasing RC drift cars, if I'm completely honest. I think at 25 grams, this is going to be the move. I am going to play around with putting this setup into a fractal frame. I don't know which. I don't know whether I will tear this one apart to do that. I would kind of like to leave this together though, because this is a hell of a little setup, and for stuff like Rampage at Micro Mayhem, this is the jam. I would not want to be thrashing the fractal rig around. So yeah, I don't know. I might just leave this thing alone. This is awful good as it sits. But I do want a fractal build for chasing the drift cars, because it puts the camera down lower to the ground. Like when I'm chasing those little guys around, believe it or not, this like inch or so that this camera is off the ground makes a really big difference. Those RC cars are only this tall, and I'm trying to get the camera really, really, really low. So yeah, the fractal setup with the camera in here, the camera is almost scraping on the ground, and that works really well. Like it actually makes it easier for me to fly, because it's easier for me to judge where the carpet is, because the camera is just that little bit lower. So yeah, there will definitely be, I might not even do a 75mm Walksnail light build, because I don't need the extra power. The little RC drift cars are fairly slow. So I might do like one 75mm build with the heavier Walksnail 1S setup that I've got, and just call it a day there. And that could be maybe like a Jungle Gym basher or something. But yeah, we'll see. I'm really impressed by how well the high KV 0702s handled this extra weight of the Walksnail 1S Lite. Off Axis says, what, your Facebook is hacked? Lame. Yep. Super, super, super lame. Hockey Rounds with a $2 super chat. Thank you, brother. He says, for making me fall in love with whoops. My pleasure, my friend. I'm right there with you. I mean, I've always kind of been in love with whoops, but now more than ever with this extra power we've been able to get. Peter Sovis says, sorry for trouble with Facebook. Can I use tri-blades on 0702 23,000 kV 65mm? You can, and for that lower kV motor, it's not a terrible idea. So by doing that, you're going to get a little bit more thrust, maybe not actually. But so try it with and without. The tri-blades that you want are definitely going to be the Gemfan 1208s. You don't want any of the older tri-blades. They're all way too pitchy. So get your hands on some Gemfan 1208 tri-blades and give it a shot. They might actually not make any extra power. If they do make extra power, they're heavier and they're more draggy, so your flight performance won't be as good, more than likely. So like prop wash and stuff like that won't get handled as nicely, just because the propeller is physically heavier, and it's gonna, and the weight of your rotating assembly is really important. The PID loop speeds up and slows down the motors, and so when that rotating assembly is heavier, that happens slower. But you potentially will get more power, because 23,000 kV is a little low. So yeah, give it a shot. Propellers are cheap. Slap them on there. Be completely open. Now that I've told you that you might actually not get more power and you might get less power, you can be totally open-minded going into it. My path before anybody knew any of this shit was to buy tri-blades over bi-blades and go, yeah, these are definitely going to make more power. And then I'd sit there for 100 batteries in placebo of like, yeah, these definitely make more power. And then eventually, with enough testing, I'd be like, wait a second, why don't these make more power? It's, it's because maybe the motor, maybe the KV is too low, maybe the stator volume is too low, rather. So yeah, with testing, it's always really, really, really important to throw out any preconceived notions that you might have about what's going to happen, because on plenty of occasions, what should happen does not happen. And a lot of times it's not even a wash, it's the opposite. So yeah, there you go. Off Axis says, you are a great inspiration. Thank you, dude. I try. It's weird to say, like, I try. I live life in a way that I don't have to try. Does that make any sense? I live my life with like full honesty with everybody. One of my core values is to just like not negatively impact anybody else, and just to kind of try to make the world a better place. And yeah, I think that's what comes off as inspiration. So yeah, thank you for noticing. Because it's not easy. It's way easier to just shit all over everybody else and for your own benefit. But when enough people do that, you get America. It's not true. It's kind of true. When enough people do that, you get capitalism. And yeah, here in America, we are very, very late stage capitalism. It will not survive for much longer, I don't think. We'll see. We'll see what happens. But let's not go down that Vietnam, shall we? Professor Biohazard says the Betaflight menu for tuning is available in Walksnail 2, not just analog, since 4.4 makes the full HUD show up. Good call, Professor Biohazard. I forget about that. So that's one of my favorite things about Walksnail, to be really honest with you, is the fact that you get Betaflight full OSD. I kind of take it for granted with TinyWhoops because I've just flown analog TinyWhoops forever. So for me, in my brain, like when I'm flying a TinyWhoop, why wouldn't it have full OSD? But yeah, if I built like a Vista TinyWhoop, it wouldn't have the full OSD. Although I guess if you do the WTF OSD thing, you would get it. Maybe, I don't know. I haven't done it yet on my DJI stuff. Michael Blade says, happy Wacky Wednesday. My off-axis says, would be funny if I spelled my new Facebook name differently. What could I do? I could just do regular, like, AARON for my first name. Kevin Sumner says, I've got 2 of the Cross F4s. I just put in the 75mm HD0 builds I'm using for iGal. I'll let you know how they're doing in a few weeks. Very cool. Thank you, dude. Veritas Wuza says, geez, you made me feel bad with the burgers and guns comment. I'm going to leave now. Go back to hacking Facebook accounts for ransom. Don't feel bad. It's all good. You're allowed to. Hey, I like cheeseburgers. The guns thing. I'm weirdly sensitive to, but don't let that turn you guys off. Denzel the Terrible says, totally. Sometimes you do things wrong on purpose so they won't mess with the meat elsewhere. Oh, boy. YouTube just did the thing. Scrolling back up to try to find my place. McBucas says, maybe dude got the Runcam Nano without holes for the camera clip. Oh, that would be very annoying. That would be very annoying. Low Rolling Grooves, here we go. Here's our answer, I bet. Says, I have the Nano 3 with the proper holes. Awesome. And I have the canopy clip. Awesome. Do you glue it and screw it, or just use the screws to mount it? Just use the screws to mount it. Happy Model, for some reason, glues it, like as if there's going to be a nuclear winter inside of the rig. There's no reason. Those screws are plenty strong for it. Yep, just throw the screws in there and away you go. Awesome. I'm glad that you have that little clip. I've been contacted by a number of people who have just bought the canopy without the clip, and they're like, "What the fuck? What do I do with this?" So I just assumed that happened to you. Yeah, awesome. Love that you're going to be able to get that set up, and that your question was whether or not just to use glue. CiottiFPV says, howdy ho everyone. What's up, CiottiFPV? Just got my dives in for iGao done on my HD0 build. The 1002 is going to make a world of difference for bashing outside. Yeah, 1002 is a really good motor size. I'm really glad that we have some options there. Voluja FPU, the $2 super chat. Thank you, brother. No comment. Well, thank you, and fan. Thank you as well. CMYK says, do you think the added weight of a crossfire receiver needs tri-blades, or will bi-blades get the job done? No, this is for diving large buildings at the moment. Bi-blades should be fine. It depends on what KV you're at, but yeah, bi-blades should be fine. In pretty much all of the testing that I've done, like kind of half-ass thrust testing, but still there's some value to it. Bi-blades have performed tri-blades in 99% of situations. So there's something really magical about the Gemfan bi-blades, 1.2 and 1.6 inch. They just make a lot of power. So unless you're like a really low KV, yeah, I would stick with the buys. Ryan9 says, yes, WTF OS has full OSD menus. I had a feeling. Off-axis says, A space Ron, right? CMYK says 27,000. Yeah, run the bi-blades for sure. That's plenty of KV for them. And at that KV, the tri-blades might actually make less power because they're gonna saturate the shit out of the motor. It is 7:37. Jesus. All right, we gotta like rush through these batteries, and then I'll go away forever. Not forever, just for a day or so. I have to figure out how to put these goggles on without these lenses touching my disgustingly greasy forehead. This is outrageous how dirty. I don't think I have any complaints about these Walksnail goggles other than this. Other than the fact that like these little lenses sit really far out, and when you go to put the goggles on your forehead. Hey, chat, help me out. There's 77 people in chat. Someone must know the answer to this. Where the hell do we get goggle foam for Walksnail goggles that's like aftermarket? Who sells aftermarket foam? I know that Joshua uses newbie drone foam meant for DJI goggles, but I also know that it doesn't fit right, because anytime anybody asks him about it, he says that he makes it work, which just means that it doesn't fit right. And I can totally see that. Like I have that foam on my DJI goggles, and like it's way bigger. It's so much thicker. It's so much taller. Look at the height difference between these two. I can also kind of see just mashing it in there and getting it to somewhat work, but like, I wonder if, well, I mean, now that I think about it, I wonder if Fat Shark foam work. I need what I need though is thick foam. I need like the Newbie Drone foam. I think Newbie Drone makes Fat Shark foam, and I bet you. Oh my God! Wow, they're like almost the same dimensions. That's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna get the Newbie Drone. God damn it! I just did a Newbie Drone order. I'm gonna get the Newbie Drone Fat Shark foam. Yo, that is really similar in dimensions. How about width? Oh my God. Yeah, that's really, really similar. The nose area is completely different though, so that might be a problem. But the Fat Shark foam is not all that juicy. Just specifically said, Newbie Drone HDO2 foam is what I use. How did it fit? Did it fit good? I'm assuming that it does. Professor Biohazard says, I think the HDO3 has the same faceplate. No way. God, I think you might be right. It looks kind of familiar, especially with the little foamy bits. Oh, cool. I love that. I'm like, I was looking around and I'm like, how the fuck does nobody have aftermarket Walksnail foam? Like, that seems kind of nuts. And I guess it's just because they're using the Fat Shark foam. Let's see. So basically, anybody that's not following along, this is basically what I'm going to get to try. Come on now. Is it in other, maybe? Is that it? Newbie Drone! Yeah, so they don't call Walksnail out. They really should call Walksnail out, though. Newbie Drone Max Comfort Goggle Foam. Is this the thick stuff? Oh, this is the old school. No. Maybe it's not the old school stuff. Is this what their foam looked like back in Fat Shark days? Whatever. It's $11. I'll just snag it. Oh, why do they have 3 different versions? Are you kidding me? I guess I'll get the HDO2 one. Their new, here it is. So this is their newer foam, and it's more like rounded. See how the edges are really rounded off? Okay. I'm worried that the thicker foam is gonna push the goggles too far off my face, but it's only an $11 experiment. All right, cool. So I'm gonna leave this open in a tab so I don't forget. What the hell's the difference? Can I see now? They use the same image. Sure wish Facebook I had access to Facebook Messenger so I could message Kelvin and say, "Hey man, what's the difference between these 3 different foams?" I could probably ask. Wait, I have a text message going with Kelvin. Do I? I do. Oh my God. There's like a very, very few people that in the FPV world that I talk, like for example, Joshua Bardwell. I don't even talk to him via text. I can't get in touch with Joshua right now. What you guys got? There we go. Yeah, this sucks. I just closed the tab. That was pretty dumb. There we go. All right, now it's back open. So yeah, there's that. Titan says those are horrible. What is those? CMYK says use that new Apple goggle foam. LMAO. So you guys see Apple put out AR goggles, AR being augmented reality, that are $3,500. Nani FPV says, I use the Newbie Drone HD02 phone on my HD0 goggles. It doesn't really help for Walksnail, but it doesn't fit exactly. Juicy says, just add the wedges. I had to take the wedges out. They do not fit with my face shape for some reason. It's so much better without the wedges, but I did hang on to them in case. So if this thicker foam, I don't know. Veritas User says, did they just change your password on your account, or did they do some damage? What was the last date that you know everything was okay with your account? The day before I left for Rampage, and my account is actually fine. They haven't done anything. They logged in and they changed the email address, and then I think that at some point in the recovery process, they got an email to reset the account, and I think they might have changed the password because the password doesn't work when I try to log into the account with my phone number. So I think they've managed to change the email address and the password. I don't know what the hell's going on with it, but there's just nothing I can do. Facebook is really disappointing in terms of their security. I've now learned. So yeah. Titan says the foam isn't that rounded. Got it a while back, but they aren't soft at all and a bit uncomfortable. Well, it's they felt that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wasn't secure. Yeah, I have to give it a shot because the current foam that's on these is not going to work because yeah, it just keeps getting greasy as hell. So I guess if I put them on, all right. So I guess the way that I need to put these goggles on is but see, that even pushes up against. God damn it. And yeah, now they're all dirty again. I guess if I put it on my eyeballs, that's how I have to put these on. Okay, so I have to put them on my eyeballs, and then strap over my head, and then I can't put them up on my forehead. I have to drop them down on my neck every time. All right, lenses are somewhat clean again. The thing is, like, my forehead grease on these lenses, like I wipe the lenses off and it just smears the grease around. My forehead is just extra greasy, I guess. All right, so eyeballs, flat on eyeballs, and then strap over, and now we're safe. And then to put them back on, it's a two-handed affair every time. All right, let's fly some digital TinyWhoops, yo. I'm gonna use this little 270 battery first, and it's gonna get its little head kicked in, but we gonna be all right. Okay, so I got this USB-C to HDMI cable routed under my chair, and so now it's gonna come up on the right side. So hopefully it's not as flaky as it was last time. Wow, I just used OBS and the live stream to get that plugged in. That was pretty dope. All right, these 3 batteries are done. So we've actually got 8 batteries that we can run in this thing. Here we go. And I made this screen a little bit bigger for you guys. I still like having having a little bit of this, you know? I like this. I like this look. What I can do, though, is turn that off. And then I guess I could center it. Is that centered? I don't know. Why not? No, that's not centered. Hold on. That's centered. No, it's not. There it is. That's centered. Look at us go! Oh, hi, guys! See, my case says that's how I put my HD0 goggles on. Well, you know. Sounds like this is just something I'm going to have to get used to. Because all the new goggles have elements that are close to your eyeballs, according to you beautiful people. Hey. Oh, look at that. And I immediately put the goggles up on my forehead. Just out of habit. Alright, and it looks like even though I'm moving the goggles around a little bit, they're staying connected for you guys, so that's great. But I do need to sit back. My God, this looks good. Is this real life? Alright, so I'm going to reach around. See what I did there? This cable. And yeah, we're still good. Cool. Here we go! Ah! Little 270 battery. This camera, there is an amount of fisheye that I am not used to. So the question begged in the live stream title is, will it rip? Will a Walksnail 65mm rig rip? And first impressions are yes. This is not on the most powerful motors. I could go up to 32,000 kV to help with the freestyle performance of this, but I haven't done that yet. I might. I was kind of thinking of maybe doing it tonight on the live stream, but I think I've burned all the time for that. Come on. Come on now. So I'm going to keep a little bit closer eye on the battery voltage with this. Man, I hate not being able to put the goggles up on my forehead, I got to be honest. You don't have to move the back of the head strap when you put the goggles up on your forehead. Yeah, I dig that. This USB cable is really hanging in there, though. It's not blanking out like it was on Monday, I guess. All right, here we go. Next battery's in. Yeah, this is annoying to have to lift the head strap up every time. Here we go! Oh! Oh! So hey, let's talk a little bit about latency. That's something that I have not touched on. There is some. I'm now that I'm putting more batteries through this, I'm definitely able to notice a slight latency difference between this and analog, which, you know, I mean, of course, right? Like nothing's for free. You're not going to get 720 1080p full digital. Unbelievable. Oh my God. Please no. Oh no, you fuck. Being all wired in like this makes retrieving a lot more difficult too. So I'm going to be 10 times crankier when crashing now. Although actually all I need to do is figure out like a good spot to put these goggles down on the desk so that I can go chase shit around. And I might have just figured that out. Oh, it was stuck on that cable! Yeah, there is absolutely more latency than analog, and with what we're, you know, with how fast, like flying TinyWhoops in general, like everything speeds up. All of your inputs have to speed up. Everything speeds up. And adding what my guess would be like 20 to 25 milliseconds more latency is going to affect that. Let's let the VTX cool off a little bit. Man, it gets hot fast. Jesus. But look at that. I mean, it still performs really decent. Not decent. Decent is like yeah, it performs great. It performs great. Oh God, yeah. So I mean, I'm doing all the stuff that I normally do, and admittedly, it's a little bit more difficult because it's heavier, but it's all still doable. You just have to adjust your throttle timing. Basically, every time I go to do one of these, and you can see me struggle, and like you can see me hitting the ceiling a lot, because I'm having to relearn how long I need to go for full throttle. See, I didn't do it enough that time. To send it up inverted 1 foot from the ceiling, right? Like, that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to fly the rig really low to the ground and then throw it up within a foot of the ceiling to go through the gate, because that's basically how big the gates are. They're about 1 foot, 2 feet tall. Come on. What? Why want an arm now? What happened? What? What? I think it got into the menu. Why did it get into the... That was weird. I must have hit the stick command by accident. So, the whole overheating thing becomes a little bit of a problem in situations like this. God damn you. Yeah, see, like, I can't just sit here and try to get it unstuck over and over and over again, because it's going to melt. So I'm going to have to develop a little bit of a strategy for this. It's going to be maybe just like leaving it... I put the goggles on my forehead. God damn it, Larry. Leaving it armed when it gets stuck like that to get some airflow going. Oh, my OSD has been off this whole time. There we go. Now we got our nice, beautiful Betaflight OSD. Oh, that battery's low. Oh, I put the goggles up on my forehead again. Fuck. Oh, that battery took a beating. And that's one of the brand new fresh ones too. Let's get it on the charger. Get it back to storage. Okay. Alright, let's try not to do that again. Freelager says 1102 or 1002 high KV for 1S 85mm. That's tough, man. I mean, if 702 biblades are the move, 702 high KV biblades are the move for 1.2 inch. Come on now. 65 basically, mill motor to motor, and the lenses are disgusting now. And 802 seems like the right number for high KV biblade. 75, maybe 1002 is the number for 85. I don't know if anybody's gonna really know the answer to that, to be honest. But I would maybe try 1002. Let's try to get all the way down. All the way down, baby. So yeah, you can do all the things for sure. Here's the other thing about, like, does it rip? I'm really worried that I'm gonna break this. it's a lot heavier. Like, one of the things I've definitely noticed over the last couple of years, spending a lot of time with newbie drone TinyWhoops at the heavier weight, which is what the weight of this is that when you get up to like 23, 24, 25 grams, durability drastically changes. The Ultimate Freestyle Analog TinyWhoops are as infinitely durable as they are, partly because of how light they are. So, oh, I got lucky on that one. So, yeah, I can't imagine that this is going to be anywhere near as durable, and I really kind of don't want to find out. So I am definitely, like, backed off quite a bit. Like, I'm still crashing a lot because I'm still trying to do hard stuff, but I am definitely, like, aware. Oh, great. I'm definitely aware. Like, for example, I'm not really going to be flying this upstairs because I don't want to slam this thing into the hardwood floors. Hold on, let's get that. Let's get that big impossible Matty flip. I'm having a rough time with it. Hold on. Ah! Here we go. We're gonna get it. There it was. I think I went through the top of the little cube there. 3.4, let's bring it home. I forgot to change the low battery warning on this. I could have probably run that a little bit more. But you know, sometimes things are imperfect. Come on, BT 2.0, you can come unplugged. Thank you. All right, so we're gonna fly another couple batteries on this, and then I'm going to put an analog battery up in the air because I really want to talk about the latency. I want to really feel the difference in latency, and give you guys some feedback on that. Let me clean these lenses off again. Oh, hi. Oh, it's back. God damn it, the VTX is overheating already. Oh man, I touched it to my eyebrows that time. It's 8 o'clock, yo. We are overtime. Alright, let's see. You guys still have video? It looks like it. Looks like you guys are still up. Yep, there we go. Well, I haven't done anything with the newbie drone gates. Let's get some action going on here. Let's do a big Matty through them. Oh boy. That was yucky. Is this camera, like, I've had a couple moments where I've felt like the camera is not level. No, I guess it is. No, hold on. No, it's not. It's not level. Hold on. Hold on. Let me make the world level. The camera is not level. I am sliding to... Why is that? Why is this camera not level? Hold on. That's, that is a problem. Yeah, it is not quite level in there because the screws on the stack are not level. So I need to screw down this left side a little bit more. And I bet you now it's better. That's interesting. On the regular frame... On a regular build, let's say, you bottom the screws out. But on these builds, you do not bottom the screws out. They kind of just float. So if I level the world, I think that's about level. Yeah, it's much better. Wow, I'm really surprised I could notice. I noticed it on the Matty flips. I kept having to go into the Matty flips a little bit sideways. Okay. Man, every single crash, I'm like, ooh, is it broken? Still got video? Yeah. Oh, God. Oh! I moved my head a little bit. So I was worried that I lost the video. Oh, God. Every time I move my head a little bit extra, I'm wondering if you guys are looking at me doing the Stevie Wonder thing. So I'd like to say that I usually fly better than this. It's because of the weight, and it's because of the latency, but it's also kind of because I'm trying to be careful, and I don't think many people fly better when they're trying to be careful, right? Like, so yeah, I mean, I normally crash a lot, but usually I crash a lot on bigger tricks than what I'm doing here. Oh my goodness! Does it rip? Yes, it does. Well, we got a little bit more. It certainly rips. In terms of durability, I don't know. That's my biggest worry with this setup. We've slammed it around a bunch, and it's completely fine, but these are crashes on carpet. When you start slamming these things on harder surfaces, wood, concrete, asphalt, shit like that, the game completely changes. So, is it durable on carpet? Maybe. I haven't crashed it nearly enough to really be able to comment on that. But, I mean, it's not durable. Like, we've slammed it a bunch, and it's completely fine so far. So, yeah, not bad. Not bad on the durability front. Let me make sure that you guys get video back. Nope. There it is. Oh, yep. Carefully put these goggles on my head. Okay. All right. Here we go. Missed it. See, so there's a perfect example. Like, I went through it, I do this a million times, and I didn't have enough height to hit this gate. This gate up here was what I was shooting for, and I just didn't have enough height because my muscle memory is, like, dialed in for a rig that's, like, 6 grams lighter than this. And, like, I'll adjust eventually. Or I won't, because when it comes to freestyle, it's not about the image looking good. It's about doing gnarly tricks. So, like, I don't know. For freestyle, like down here, it might just be analog for life. More durable, lower latency, better power to rate. Oh boy. But for chasing the drift cars around, this is obviously the answer. It makes really no sense to chase them around in analog. Other than, like, maximum lightweight for the best possible performance. Not for, like, power to weight ratio, but just for the lighter you are, the easier it's going to be to kind of stick with them. And stay close to them. Oh man, I must have clipped that by a fucking millimeter. I think that was net code right there. Ugh! And see that big throttle stab to keep it off the carpet? Usually I can just do a quick little blip to keep it from hitting the ground. Ugh! Almost. I almost got it out of there. Ah! Hold up. Man, it is fun to see where I'm going, though. Although with analog... Oh! With analog, you can definitely see where you're going. Especially when you're this close. You know, like, one of the huge benefits of digital is that it's clean when you're at range. And that's a... You know, that matters. with a TinyWhoop, you're usually really close to yourself. So it becomes kind of less... I don't know. It's hard. It's hard. That's what she said. Okay. So, 3 batteries left. 8:07. We got the time. More runtime from analog too. You know, I'm getting 2 minutes and 30 seconds-ish with these. I'm being pretty gentle on these batteries. Actually, let me see what these batteries are bouncing back to. I might not need to be this gentle on them. They're bouncing back to what I'm used to. 3.75, 3.70. Yeah, so I'm running them down the right amount. 3.70. This one's still warm though. It should bounce back a little bit more. So yeah, I'm bringing these back at the right time. So yeah, we've lost 40-ish seconds of runtime. Oh, come on, but it does rip. It will rip. That's for damn sure. Oh boy. Rejected. Ah! A little late on the throttle blip to keep it off the door. Come on, let's get this big ass Matty flip done. Let's go. Here it is. Ah! I also want to do a couple more of these. Ah! I didn't quite have it lined up. Really? Come on now. Up. There it was. That was it. With a terrible ending. Let's get it one more time. Up. Ah! Hit that gate. How do I hit the little thin parts of these gates so much more often than I get through them? I think that went through there. It's hard to see. Hey. Yeah. Yeah. It's fun to be able to see the tricks that I'm doing. Nope, didn't get it up high enough on that one. I can really feel the weight in the corners. Yeah, there we go. That's where I really notice it. Wait, let's do the parrot landing. Ah, I missed it. Parrot landing! Ah, so close. Not quite there. I gotta get better at the parrot landing. Okay, here we go. All right, let me get caught up a little bit on. Michael D says bot got nauseous from the latency when he flew fat snail. That's interesting. I don't know why you would get nauseous from it. How do you get nauseous from latency? That's interesting. I would more think it's the fisheye of the lens, but I don't know. If he has a history of getting nauseous with higher latency systems, then like I totally get it. But I wouldn't think that latency would make you nauseous though. I've never really thought about that though. Titan says, have you tried the HQ Biblade 31mm? Are they as good as the Gemfan or worse? They are worse. The top of the propeller is enclosed, so you can't push it all the way down in the motor shaft. This is just the stupidest thing ever. Freelander says 1102. We got that. Michael Miller says, what's up? What are your rates? 40, 770, but don't fly anybody else's rates. Rates are very easy to adjust. There's a ton of info on YouTube how to get your perfect rate set. And yeah, you need to set your rates for your brain, not my brain. My rates will not connect with your brain. Rates are an incredibly subjective thing. And yeah, you're doing yourself a big disservice by running someone else's rates. So don't do it. Just look up what the rates are. It's very straightforward. One of them adjusts the sensitivity at the at the center of the stick travel. One of them adjusts the sensitivity at the middle, and the other one adjusts the rotational rate at the end. It's one of the easiest things in FPV. So yeah, do a little bit of experimenting, get them dialed in for you, and away you shall go. I always really, really, really recommend that you guys not run anyone else's rates. Other than maybe, like, just out of curiosity. Like, if you're curious, cool. But don't, yeah, don't just take somebody else's rates and run those as your own. It's gonna... You're literally going to fly worse. What's that on the ground? Is that just fuzz? Looks like a broken piece of quad. A dead bug? Hold on. I think it's a dead bug. You can, well, you know what's interesting? You can really see the fisheye when I do that. Watch the fisheye. Ready? See the world kind of warp? That's what I'm noticing in these goggles. I don't love this lens that's on this camera. It's not terrible, but just something that I noticed. Something that... Like, this whole, like, oh, you'll get used to it thing, like, that works if you only have one rig. As soon as you have more than one rig, the whole you'll get used to it shit becomes a fucking problem, because every time you fly that rig, you're not used to it. And it makes you fly worse. So, yeah, I always try to run gear that I don't have to get used to. I like gear that it's right. Whatever the version of right that you've come up with from all of your other rigs, you want to try to build stuff that is right, so that when you go between rigs, you don't have to adjust like that. That's a really good way to not fly as good as you can. Because every time you fly that rig, you have to spend the first 5 batteries adjusting to it, and then every time you go back to your other rigs, you have to adjust to them. So yeah, the whole like, oh yeah, you'll get used to it thing is a terrible answer for people to go off of. All right, people, we are going to go back to analog for a quick battery, so I can talk to you about latency. This will be the most drastic shift in... I've never flown this many of these batteries freestyle and then backed it up with analog. So let's take a look here. This is actually... this will be... I'm super excited right now to do this. All right. Because this is going to be like, I'm going to do this a bunch of times, but this is going to be one of those moments where it's like, is Walksnail for freestyle on TinyWhoops, or is it not? I'm going to fly the 32,000 kV rig, which is a little bit unfair. I wish I had one of these rigs on a set of the 0702 30,000s, which are the same motors that are on that, but this is the closest that I've got. The option that I have built right now is on the 0603 30,000s with triblades, and that's just throwing too many variables into the mix. So here we go. Analog TinyWhoop, same exact setup, 2,000 more kV. Well, oh! Didn't make me that much of a better pilot. I just crashed it in a very unrecoverable spot. It's actually not as bad as I thought. Latency is funny. Like, when you know there's going to be a difference in latency, you swear to God that you can feel it, see it, hear it, taste it. But man, it's a lot more subtle than people give it credit for. There's such a huge difference in the weight wow, look at the difference in float. Oh my god. And the ability to change direction like that. Wow. Ah! See, so it's really hard to tell the difference in latency because everything happens so much faster on this rig. Because of the better power to rate ratio. And just the fact that it's a lot lighter. Oh boy. Now I'm going to spend this whole battery just trying to adjust to this rig. Ugh. Yeah, I don't... Either I don't really notice the difference in latency. Wow, this is so much more powerful. Or the rig is just so different that I can't pinpoint it. But it's like, it's not that big a deal, I don't think. I mean, I've sometimes I feel like I don't know. Everybody always seems to have such a hard time with latency. I've really like never noticed it. With DJI, I never noticed it. Yeah, like I've changed cameras that are different amounts of latency and I've never noticed it. Like, I really think there's so much placebo around it because like you make a change or you spend a bunch of money and then it's like, oh yeah, this is definitely lower latency. I don't know. I've always been very skeptical of that. Yeah, this is fucking wild. Yeah, I mean... Oh my god! Yeah, this is, I mean, this is obvious. It's... Really? You fucking motherfucker. Thank you. This is obviously way better for freestyle. Like, it is obviously better to have a lot less weight. Is the Walksnail, does it rip? Of course. Absolutely it rips, as long as you build it with, you know, the right powertrain. But for my freestyle, it's going to be on analog. Because of this, right now. Because of what's happening right now. I'm like 2 minutes and 30 seconds in to adjusting to this. And I'm doing the things that I'm like. There's just stuff that. I mean, there actually is stuff that you won't be able to do on the Walksnail setup. Like get it stuck under the couch. But now it's out. See what I did there? I just used it to like pry itself out. Oh, that was sloppy. I don't know why I thought I could muscle that in there. Oh, now I'm stuck. Fuck off. Battery's dead anyway. Yeah, it ain't gonna replace analog for TinyWhoop Freestyle, that's for sure. It's just too heavy, but we knew that. If you want the best possible TinyWhoop Freestyle experience, it's still analog for sure. I mean that any extra weight, 1 extra gram, 1 extra gram I think would be worth it. But like 2 to 3 or more extra grams of weight on something this small to get HD doesn't really make much sense. Freestyle flying is about the moves that you're pulling off, not about how good it looks. How good it looks is cinematic. That's cinematic flying, and cinematic flying is great. I like it more than freestyle. But if we're going to talk about what's better for freestyle, especially around the house. So here's the other thing. Here's the other huge benefit of HD. When you go out and you fly a spot that's got scraggle, or it's a new spot that you don't know it as well, HD is king for sure. Because you can see. You can see where you're going. You can see the scraggle earlier and avoid it. And you can just see, like you can, if it's your first time flying a spot or your 5th time or 10th time, being able to see more is going to allow you to learn the spot better. And that has a lot of value. So your first, let's say 10 batteries at a spot, you're probably going to, HD is a better bet. So if you like to go out and fly a different spot every single time you go and fly, I was one of those people for a long time. HD is really valuable for that. Flying in your house, flying the same spot over and over and over and over and over again, unless like things are changing every day, and unless like you've got bamboo growing and it grows really quickly, right? Analog starts to make more sense. It's lower latency, it's lighter, it's cheaper. So, and with TinyWhoops, you're flying around your house, right? I've flown 1,000 batteries in this house. So I kind of don't need to see where I'm going. I know where everything is. I know where the couch is. I know where this table is. I know where all these gates are. So yeah, I mean, this is very cool. Don't get me wrong. Walksnail on a little rig like this is super cool. Let's see how it did. No damage. Yeah, it's fine. There were no really big hits. And they were mostly into carpet. Lens is still totally fine. Still low up tilt. Yeah, this is very cool. And if you got into the hobby with Walksnail goggles, build this, right? Like, if you already have analog goggles, or if you can get a pair of Fat Sharks cheap, yeah, this is it. This is what you want. You want the ultimate freestyle TinyWhoop in analog. But yeah, if you don't have analog goggles, this is damn good. This is really, really, really good. And most people are not going to go as ham as I do with you know, Matty Flip's power loops, like these really, really, really difficult three-dimensional style tricks that you see me doing. And these style of tricks are where this is just amazing. This is going to do an awful lot. This will do building dives. This will do so many things. I will say that if you're trying to be competitive in iGao, you want to go analog. This will make your life more difficult in the iGao competition for freestyle, for sure, because it's heavier. And that weight is gonna, it just, trust me, it's just gonna make it's gonna make it harder for you. The person that wins iGao will be on analog. I absolutely guarantee it. I will bet you $10,000. So, yeah. But damn, I did not expect for this little Walksnail build to be as good as it is. That is for sure. I did not think it would be as capable. And I'm not really used to it yet, right? I'm only like maybe 20 batteries into this. If I put these analog rigs aside for a couple of weeks and really poured a bunch of time into this, and maybe put this on the 32,000 kV motors, yeah, I would be able to get even better. But for me, Walksnail is about chasing these little RC drift cars, and I don't want to go beating this thing up too bad, right? Like your cinematic rigs, you don't want to pound on them. So if you guys ask me to fly this, I will. Maybe I'll fly like 1 or 2 batteries per Whoop Wednesday or something on this. But yeah, this is not going to be a freestyle rig, nor should it be. You know, the camera, I feel like the camera is looking a little bit sideways. What the hell's going on with that? Why is the camera not sitting? Yeah, it's looking to the left a little bit. What is that about? How is that even possible? It sits in that little clip thing. That's weird. Oh, it's definitely sitting to the side a little bit. The fuck is that about? Why is it? Oh, is that why? Is it because that antenna's pushing up against it? Let me see. It's facing that way, so No, if anything, the antenna's helping it. I'm gonna have to investigate that a little bit. That's weird why it's sitting like that. Oh, it's because the lens is, yeah. So the lens is kind of pushing up against the sides of the canopy here, and it's just making it sit. It's just making it point to the left just a little bit. Interesting. Interesting. This canopy is also broken, so that could be why. The little top part of the canopy is broken. It's not broken all the way through. Yeah, okay. Well, so the camera's sitting off to the side a little bit like this. If you've ever flown a rig like that, ooh, boy, it makes you fly like ass. So that was definitely contributing to some of the crashes. Man, and it will not straighten out. It just refuses. Strange. It won't really affect me much chasing the little RC drift cars. I guess this is cracked all the way through. Weird. But yeah, those are my thoughts, friends. Let me get caught up on chat, and then we'll shut this mother down. Michael Miller says, "What's up? What are your rates?" Talked about that. McBucas says, "Just got the ViFly Whoop Store charger a couple days ago. Just noticed one of the ports is lighting up orange instead of red when charging. Do you know what's up with that?" I do not. Mine all light up red. That's weird. Maybe they swapped a wrong LED in when they were building it. That would be my guess. Somatic says, "What's the range of penetration like on the Walksnail?" I have no idea. So I only have like the little tiny light setup, which I have it on 25 milliwatts because I'm just flying around the house here. I've not flown Walksnail outside, but I don't see why the range and penetration would be any different than DJI. It's probably going to be less than 03 because they put some magic in there, but yeah, it should just be identical range to DJI. I think Wesley Vardy has done some range tests and it performed pretty well. Don't quote me on that. But yeah, range should be exactly what DJI range is. As long as you've got decent antennas, right, and all that stuff. Garter Rotor says, "Awesome landing either way. Thanks, dude." Freelojo says, "Bot was having a strange issue. It was like 3 frames per second, he said." That's weird. Yeah, I would not be able to fly with that. That's insane. Somatic says, "Is Walksnail decent for indoor drone tours or no?" Interesting question. So yeah, I mean, if you've got a client that's okay with 1080, it looks pretty good for 1080, and you've got onboard DVR, so that's good. If the question is using it for your FPV feed and then still carrying around a naked GoPro, now it becomes more challenging. But now the challenge becomes packaging it. Like, how do you package it? It's a whole separate board that's going to have to float up on top like this. And so now you get into a really weird area of durability. I don't know if I would necessarily trust it for that. It's a good question. I'm going to think on that. If you can find a way to package it, here's what I'll say. If you can find a way to package it, you're going to get the experience of running a Vista, right? Like, you're going to get the same level of range and bounce and all that good stuff as a Vista, which is really good. You can crank it up to 1200 and just rail away. So from that, in that respect, yeah, it'd be great. What are you guys now? Are you guys on analog on the small rigs? Ohm says, did you figure out the artifacting? Yeah, it was the weird mismatched firmware versions. It has now completely gone away. I've flown it upstairs. I've flown it downstairs. I haven't seen any artifacting whatsoever since. The performance of this Walksnail system has been phenomenal. I'm really blown away. Even like the user experience, like the fact that it worked at all with mismatching versions of firmware between the VTX and the goggles, that's incredible. That is so fucking nice. Let it artifact all over the damn place. Just make it work at all. So yeah, I'm really impressed by Walksnail. I really, really, really am. The fact that they can get it down this light is absurd, like absolutely absurd. So, yeah, super impressive system. The goggles are really nice. They fit nice. I got to figure out how to get my greasy forehead off of the lenses, but apparently that's an issue with all the new goggles. So, yeah. Yeah, really, really impressive stuff. I'm kind of blown away by it. So, big thumbs up for me. Is it the end all be all? Maybe you could put it on if you want to have one system. I think it might be the one, because you can do TinyWhoop things with it. You can do big stuff with it. They've got a bunch of different options now, right? The V1 stuff, the V2 stuff, 2 different V2 cameras, a third camera on V1. So if there's one of the cameras that has the wide angle fishbowliness that you like, and you can kind of dial it in there. So yeah, man, if I was just gonna get one, I would still go analog. If I could only have one set of goggles, it would still be analog, I think, because I still think that analog does. I still think everything together, price, reliability, availability, like tweakability, right? Like different options so that you can get it exactly the way that you want it. I think when you factor all that shit in together, I think analog is still the way to go. Price is a big part of that for me, personally. And adjustability is a really big part of that. I can find the exact right analog camera that I absolutely love the most. Most people don't talk about that stuff, right? Like most people just, oh God, it has to be digital because I can see better. Well, and it is nice to be able to see where you're going. But if you were gonna pick a digital system to do everything with and just have one set of goggles, I think it's Walksnail. And I also think that for most people, it's Walksnail. I don't think most people are as picky as I am, or as broke as I am, and they can afford. If you can afford digital, man, I have a really hard time when I talk to somebody and they're like, "Hey, I'm trying to get started. What should I do?" I have a really hard time recommending analog if they have any money. If they tell me like, budget is really high up on their list of priorities, analog, do it. Do analog now. But when budget is not high on that list, I have a super hard time recommending analog. And now I'm going to have an even harder time recommending it because of how good this is. And I haven't even done a 3-inch build with it yet. That's probably going to be even more mind-blowing. Veritas says, hey bud, bought GEPRC 03 Cinelog 20 and 10 batteries, drone right out of the box. Had a motor that wouldn't start. GEPRC wants me to take it apart and troubleshoot it. Warning people. Did you buy it directly from GEPRC? If you bought it directly from GEPRC, to demand that they take it back and send you a working one. I would just say, like, you don't know how to take things apart or troubleshoot them, and you don't have any interest in doing that, and it didn't say anything, you didn't sign any terms and conditions that said that if they send you something broken that you have to fix it yourself, right? Like, be as kind as you can, but be firm with them on that. And tell them that you told your buddy CiottiFPV, and he talked about this on his live stream in front of 1,000+ people. If you want, do whatever you want. But Yeah, that's unacceptable. But if that's only if you bought it directly from GetFPV. If you bought it from RDQ, demand RDQ replace it for you. That's bullshit. You cannot sell someone a product that doesn't work and expect them to fix it. That is unacceptable. So yeah, get firm, I think. Michael D says, my apologies. I missed Bot's follow-up video that had a firmware update that fixes issues for Walksnail. Okay, good. Bob Bruce says, the only time I've noticed a difference in latency was from switching from Fly Sky to ELRS. And, you know, I noticed the difference in latency switching from Free Sky to ELRS on the TinyWhoops. Video latency, in my opinion, is harder to notice. If you're being honest with yourself, if you just spent, you know, if you have some reason to really want to love digital, then your brain is going to make that difference in video latency more apparent. It's actually not going to. It's just going to convince you so that, yeah. But, yeah, I don't give a shit. I don't care what I fly. And that is the mindset that you have to be in to actually have any chance in feeling a difference in latency. You have to fully not give a shit. You can't have just paid a bunch of money for one. You can't, like, yeah, you have to put all that shit aside. The brain is a confusing thing. And placebo is so strong that people with health issues will take a sugar pill and swear to God that it fixes their health problems. That's how strong placebo is. Now, you think that shit ain't gonna factor into trying to notice a difference in 10 milliseconds in latency? Fuck that, right? Not happening. Titan says, what's your preferred antenna for TinyWhoops or analog? TrueRC Singularity for everything, especially if you have the money. If you're a cheap bastard like me, TrueRC OCP is what it used to be called. Now it's just the less expensive TrueRC antennas. They're a little bit bigger and they're a little bit more durable and they're cheaper. Instead of $20 an antenna, it's like $12 an antenna. So, but yeah, TrueRC is the company that you want to go with. They make the best antennas, period. VAS, V-A-S, I forget what it stands for, is run by a transphobic douchebag. So don't buy VAS antennas, in my opinion. But, you know, what you do is up to you. VAS antennas are probably almost as good, if not maybe just as good. They're certainly not better. And, yeah, don't support pieces of shit. So, S. Wiseman says, I got a Mobile 7 ELRS and RM Boxster in Monday. Took me hours to figure it out. Mobile 7 came with V2, and it took me a while to figure out the Betaflight update to get the Boxster update to work. Yeah. Welcome to FPV, my friend. Get used to that. That's not going to be the last time that happens to you. I don't know how long you've been around, but that's a pretty normal kind of situation in FPV. What's cool about that, though, is that the people that actually survive and continue to fly FPV are troubleshooters that are actually, like, able to go through that process and stay with it. So we're a very unique group because we're willing to deal with that situation there and not just say, this is insane, I'm done. FPV, we got that. Marcel Off Axis says, can you double up the foam? Maybe. It's an interesting idea. No, this is the foam with the pleather that Velcro is not going to stick to. But I do have some Fast Shark foam that I might be able to double up. FPV says, sorry to bug you. Can we use plus and minus buzzer for 5 volt and ground for receiver? As long as that's not switched. So hook a multimeter up to those pads, and as long as they're constantly sending voltage out, then yeah, you can use it. June Loco says, what's the weight? Dry weights on these two rigs that I flew tonight are 18.8 grams. What? Why are you so fat? What? 19.5? What happened? This used to be less than 19 grams. Okay, I don't know. I've given up trying to figure out why these TinyWhoops weigh different amounts. 19.5 grams for the analog rig. 25.1 for the Walksnail rig. Very impressive. Cannot believe it's not heavier than that. Those are dry weights. Mattio says, is there longer MIPI cables for Walksnail? Think about putting Walksnail on my Chimera 7. There's a whole bunch. Just go on to whatever your favorite FPV retailer is and search for Walksnail cable or Walksnail MIPI. MSHE says, definitely a real analog, and I have high hopes for OpenHT this year, not for Whoops yet, but still. I haven't heard much about OpenHT. I've heard about it. I haven't heard much beyond that. Veritas User says, you're clairvoyant. I did buy the Cinelog from RDQ. Yeah, message RDQ and be like, hey, this doesn't work. I'm going to be sending it back to you. Don't even don't even ask them. Just say like, hey, you sent this to me. It doesn't work. What do I need to do to send this back? Don't even give them the option. And if they try to fuck with you about it, just, no, it is not okay to sell something. And it's also not okay for them to, if they try to pull this shit where they're like, oh, you have to deal with GEPRC. No, you do not. And if you tell GEPRC that, they will tell you that you need to deal with RDQ. You need to deal with RDQ. They've played this game before. You do not have to go through GEPRC. RDQ sent you a bad product. They need to take that product back and they need to send it to GetFPV. And that's how it works. If they try to tell you need to go through GEPRC, they're just being lazy. Don't let them get away with that shit. All of you guys, when you buy something from a reseller, it must work. If it does not work, it is on that reseller. Don't let them bully you around. That is bullshit. RDQ has they have a tendency to do that, and it's not cool. It really isn't cool. I'm not saying that other resellers haven't done that in the past, but RDQ is notorious for doing that. It's one of the reasons that I really don't like them. It doesn't cost them that much to do that. It does cost them something. They do it because it benefits them. And RDQ is run by a guy that's business. And so, yeah, but don't let them do that to you. It's bullshit. It's not cool. It really pisses me off that they do that. Every time I hear about them doing that, I'm like, dude, come on. The FPV is hard enough as it is. Don't make it even harder on people. Come on, man. We want more people, not less in this hobby. Rant off. I love you guys. I'll see you again on Friday at 7 o'clock. Have an amazing week. Now will be the start of the beginning and the ends of the streams having yucky analog video. But the flying in it is pretty damn good. I'm going to get you started with the tallest TinyWhoop tower dive. I bet you this actually is, because I used the entire battery and this is a really efficient rig. So yeah, this is what I did on my way to Rotor Riot Rampage, and I'm gonna try tomorrow. Oh, you know what we didn't do is talk about building dives tonight for this week's iGow. But I did talk about it on Monday, maybe it was Sunday. Dives, basically you're never gonna dive straight down like this. It'll pull you away from the object. The hardest thing to do with dives is stay close to the object. And the way you do that is to pitch forward. When you dive straight down like this, the little bit of thrust the air mode is making is going to pull you off the object. You want to tilt forward like this. If the object is over here, you want to tilt forward like this. That way the air coming up like this gets pushed off, and that pulls you in, and then the air mode pulls you out, so you end up with a perfectly straight down the object dive. If you're still being pulled away, tilt forward more. Sometimes you'll get to the point where you're like this and you're still being pulled away because the air on the side of buildings can be a little bit just disturbed and turbulent and shit. But yeah, most often if you just keep pitching forward, you'll get to a point where you're actually getting sucked into the building, and then you can pick up the throttle a little bit and use the throttle to keep you off the building. And that's what you want. So yeah, when you're getting pulled away from the object, pitch forward and away you go. Vegan FPV, there's no way that he did more than 1,300 feet, because he did not do an entire battery. I did an entire battery beginning to end, as you're about to see. This is as high as your, well, let's, and I don't think he got to the top of the Empire State Building, but let's just take a quick look. How tall is the Empire State Building? He definitely didn't go up to the top of it. So it's only 1,200, no, 14, so it's 1,454 all the way up to the top. So he didn't even get near, he didn't even get to the tower part on top. So my guess would be he maybe did like 700 feet, maybe 800 feet max. But I can tell from watching his that he did nothing like what you're about to see. Look how long it takes me to climb this fucking thing. He might have used more throttle, but he definitely didn't get anywhere near the top of that damn thing. And this radio tower is minimum 1,100 feet tall. But when I look it up, it actually said like 1,800 or 1,900 feet tall. This is a ridiculously big tower. You'll see. If you've seen his dive, watch this, and it'll be pretty obvious who went higher. Yeah, I'm going to try to do a little edit of this tomorrow. Oh, he was on a 75. I didn't know that. Okay. Yeah, I mean, he definitely didn't get up to the very tip of the damn thing. So it was almost certainly not as high as this dive, but yeah, this is 65. So where are the things? There they are. I'm gonna give you guys a little music so it's not just the whole time. Hopefully this song doesn't suck. Be good, friends. See you Friday.